Hello everyone, I'm Ninja Coder and welcome to today's project. In today's project, we're going to be creating a food recipe application. Now, this application is powered with React.js, TypeScript, and we're also going to be using RapidAPI. We're going to be using RapidAPI to fetch the recipes, and we're going to be displaying those recipes for the user. Now, this may seem like a very simple application, which it is in fact, but you'll be learning a lot of fundamentals in React. Okay, so take a look at the demo of this application. Now, if we come over here, we can see we have a simple search bar over here, which we can just search jollof rice. Okay, you can see the loading spinner. I can see it gives you a list of different recipes. Now you can just select on one and you can see the instructions with the ingredients. You can select on another one, you get the ingredients and the instructions, and then you can select it back to close it up. Then you can also search another recipe, let's say pizza, and you can see you have many different pizzas here. You can select on them and see their recipes. Now this is a very simple application. I would like you to go through this and let's start building something fun. Okay, all right, so first things first, we're going to get over to our VS Code, and here I already have my folder open, my recipe app. So we're going to be installing TypeScript with this project. So we're going to be using this npx create react app with the template and TypeScript command. So we'll copy that. You can get this on the create react app website. Okay, so we're going to paste that here and click on enter. We're also going to be using Tailwind. So let's head over to the Tailwind website to get started. Okay, so our React application has installed. Great. Now we want to install Tailwind CSS. First things first, we're going to take this, copy that, paste that here, install that. Then we're going to do this. Hold on. Do this. Do that in the right file. Okay, it seems we did that in the wrong. We have to navigate to my app first of all before we run the npm install tailwind css. Okay, so hope you did that. Then we're going to run this. Okay, after that is done, we're supposed to copy this. So this content file, we're just going to copy this, copy and paste it here. Okay, then we're supposed to go to our index.css. I'm just going to delete all of this and we're going to copy this and paste it here. And then we're going to do this, copy. Here we're going to change this input CSS into index CSS. Let me see if that will work, because I tried using it previously, it didn't work. So let me see if that will work for us here. While this is doing, let's delete all these things that we don't need. I need this, all this bloatware. Test. We also don't need this. But we want to come to app.txx and also delete this and all of this. Just say hello world. Okay, they want to come to our index.txx, delete this, also delete this and this. Okay, no, not this. All right, so I think this is good. Is this done? Say no utility classes were detected in your source file. This is unexpected. qg npm starts. Okay, we have to navigate to the my app, then say npm starts. Okay, yes. Okay, so we're seeing our hello world. Let's see BG red 500. Okay, so you can see this is not running. So over here, all right, so we found what the issue was with our Tailwind CSS. Now, when you create an application with TypeScript, you need to go to your Tailwind config file and head over to content. So you can see in content we have HTML and JS. This is telling Tailwind to affect files that are HTML and JS inside our source directory. So the files we have here are not JS or HTML files, they are CSX files. So we need to come over here, put a comma and put CSX. So now if you can look, it now affects our application. So that's why it doesn't work at first until you have to do that. All right, so now that we've done that, great. Okay, so first things first, our app.txx, we're going to delete this because we don't need hello world anymore. And we're going to also delete this. We're just going to make this like this. We're going to say div, class name. We're going to say max width 5XL, MX auto, padding 3. The width should be 95%. And our background should be #FF FEF5. Okay, and here we're going to put our home page. So we're going to create a folder here and call it pages. I don't like to use capital letter. And create a new file and say home page.txx, and here we're going to say rfc home page. Okay, so we're going to go back to app, home page. Okay, perfect. Now we have the background here. So we want to style the main page here. So we're going to come to our index.css and we're going to say in our body, we're going to say background color. Okay, we're going to say white. Then we're going to say background image. Now I already have a background image here, which is this. I'm going to put the link for this in the description, so just check the description for it. So we're going to copy it from here and say URL. Okay, then we're going to say background position. We're going to say top left. We're going to say background repeats. We're going to say background attachment. Scroll. Okay, then we're going to say background size auto. Then the color is going to be 2C3B4B. Okay, then we're going to say font family. We're going to use this. We're going to save this. All right, so come back to our main page. We can see it's looking much more presentable. So we're going to close this index page because we're done with that. Now we're going to start work on our home page. Okay, all right, so in our home page we're just going to import recipe, which is going to be our main component. So we're going to create a component file. Not component, it should be components. Let's just add s there. and we're going to create a file. We're going to recipe.cxx, and we're going to say rfc recipe. Okay, so we're going to come back to our home page and import this here. Okay, so we're doing very well as of now. So I want us to come back to our recipe page, and we're going to style this a bit. Okay, so we're going to say div class name. We're going to say text to Excel. We're going to say text in the center. I'm just going to say food recipes. Okay, so now we're going to create another div. I'm going to say input type text, and we're going to say class name. We're going to say padding should be 5, the width should be full, and outline none. Okay, all right, so inside here we have our let me max this. Okay, so we have our input field here. So now we want to close this up, and we want to say in the input field we need a placeholder. Okay, and in the placeholder we're going to say find recipe, right, like that, e.g. jollof rice, jollof rice or egg rice. Who loves egg rice here? etc. All right, so we have our basic layout. Now we need to head over to RapidAPI for our API. So we're going to say RapidAPI. I'm just going to increase this so everyone can see it more clearly. Now when you head over to RapidAPI, if you don't have an account, I encourage you to create an account for yourself, and let's get started. So now we're going to be using a food recipe app. Now you can see there's so many food recipe apps. You can just come over here and even go through another one for yourself. Maybe we're going to be making a cocktail DB application soon in the future. Who knows? So now we're going to be using this recipe by API Ninjas. Once you come over here, I want you to go over to the pricing, and I want you to subscribe to the basic plan. You just see a subscribe button on the basic plan, just click on it. So me, I'm currently using the basic plan. If you upgrade to other plans, you're able to have higher requests per month. Okay, so let's go back to the endpoints. Through the endpoints, we're able to know how to use this API. Now the API is very simple. If you see our URL here, we just need to put in the URL with our query, which will be the recipe we're looking for. So you can see the query they have here is Italian wedding soup. So depending on which language you're using, we were using JavaScript and we're going to be using fetch. So just click on that and you'll be able to see what you need here. Now your API key is unique to you. I'm not going to show you guys my own too much so that you guys don't go and start using my own. I want you to come over to your my app root directory and create a environmental file .env. Okay, and in this env we're going to create our API. For those of you who just want to copy the code from GitHub and start to use, all you have to do is just get this API key. Once you've downloaded it from GitHub, you create your .env file, which I have done. You won't be able to see that file if you download it from GitHub. So just create your .env file, and inside it I want you to create this. Just say react underscore app underscore API underscore key. Okay, and then paste your API here. So once you do that, the application should be working perfectly for you. I'm already showing you guys my own, so I'm very sure very soon this API key is going to be used a lot. All right, so once we've created that, I think we're done with that. So if you just downloaded it to use immediately, your own should be working now fine. If you are going along with this video, let's keep going. So we'll come to the source directory. We're going to create a new folder and name it lib. A new file called fetch data. In our fetch, we're going to make it a JS file, so we don't have too many TypeScript constrictions here, because everything has to be perfect when you're using TypeScript. Okay, so we're going to copy this code that we have here. You can see this is just very simple stuff. All right, so once we copy this code, our options over here, we're going to change this API key and say process.env.react_app_API_key. This will be able to allow us to use this value that we have here in our environmental file. Okay, so now we're going to create a new function. We're going to say export constant get recipe data is going to equal to an async function. Then we're going to get the recipe name, because this is a parameter we're going to need. And here we're going to get this URL. Copy. I'm going to paste this URL here. And in this URL, we want it to be something that is dynamic, that we can place in values inside. So we're going to put a backtick here. And here we have Italian wedding soup. So we're going to change this Italian wedding soup to be what we get from our recipe name. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to say let results is equal to, okay, let's just create an instance of results. Now we're going to take this try catch here. I'm going to place it here. Okay, so now we have our constant response. We're going to fetch the data from this URL with our options as our API key and API host. Once we do that, we want to put that inside results, because we've already defined results here. So we're just going to say results is going to equal to our wait response.text. Okay, and once we do that, we're going to say over here return. Now this result is going to be gotten in a JSON object, and we need to map through the list of recipes we are going to get from our API. So we need to parse this JSON object so that we can get an array from it. So how are we doing that? We're going to say JSON dot parse results. So we're just going to parse the result. Okay, so here we have console.error in case we get an error, but we shouldn't get an error here, except you have maybe you're not subscribed or something like that, but you shouldn't get an error. So we're going to pass this result, and this is what we're going to be getting from our get recipe data function anytime we call on it. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our recipe.txx. Okay, so now we have our input. We need to be able to get the value of this input, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to create a constant search equals to use state, and because this is going to be a string, I'm still trying how to escape that. So this is going to be a string. I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so here in our input, the value is obviously going to be equal to search. Okay, and anytime this is changed on change, we want to pass events and set search to event dot value. No. Okay, here. So now we're getting our what the user is typing inside here to be our search. Okay, so now that we're getting that information, we need an array to get this to hold the recipes. So we're going to say constant recipes set recipes, going to be a use state, and that use state is going to be an array but with a type of any. Okay, so we have that in store. Now that we have that in store, we need to be able to fetch the data from our API. So we're going to create a function that is going to do that, and this function is going to be constant fetching recipe data equals to, it's going to be an async function. Okay, so this is an async function. All right, so now the first thing we're going to do, we're going to check our search, which is going to be if there's nothing in search, right, we want to return, right? Then we're going to say constant data, which is a type of any, so we don't get too many errors here. We're going to say await get recipe data, and we're going to pass in search. So here we're just awaiting, we're using the function that we created in fetch data with the recipe name here, and we're telling it to get us recipes with this search name, the search name that the user has imputed here. Okay, so when we get that data, we're going to say set recipes, okay, into data. All right, very, very simple. Now we're going to use a use effect because we want in a situation where anytime the user changes anything in this input, the function will run. So we're going to use use effect. Okay, so we're going to use effects, and one of the parameters we're going to have here is search. So anytime search changes, we want this use effect to run. So it's saying use effect is not defined, so we're just going to come up here, say comma use effects. So we shouldn't have that error anymore. So now we're going to fetch this recipe data here. We're going to say fetching recipe data. Just create that function. Now we want to see what we get by saying console.log recipes. Okay, all right, so let's come here, let's inspect, go to our console. Let's see here we have an array of nothing. And if we come and say jollof, we're already getting an error, say too many requests, meaning we've used this our API key a little bit too much. So we're just going to go back here. I'm going to change this account. I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log back in with another account that I have. Log in with Google. I'm going to use this, my other account. So we're going to go back to food recipe by API Ninja. Then we're going to go to pricing and subscribe, and we're going to go back to endpoints, and we're going to copy this new API key. Okay, so we're going to come to our .env file, wipe this, and kill this terminal. A new one, say npm start. Okay, no, we have to navigate to my app. Say npm start. Okay, perfect. And then yes. Okay, so let's come and say jollof. Okay, all right, so we get what we need here. So what we are going to do, we're going to copy this. All right, and we're going to come to our recipe here. Now, because we don't want to be getting in trouble with this request, which it is very right, the requests are getting too much. What we're going to do is very simple. Let's kill this terminal so it doesn't continue doing that. We're going to set this recipe because we want to be able to display this information to the user. So now that we've copied this one, let me copy it again. Copy. We're just going to come over here. I'm going to say constant recipe data equals to. I'm going to paste that. Okay, so with this, we're going to use it to be able to display everything, work on it while we display everything, so that we don't get too many requests from their server. Okay, so we're going to come down here. Once we display everything, then we'll now connect everything back. So once we come down here, we're going to take use effects, and we're just going to stop this so we don't call in this function again. So we're just going to say J, we're just going to say cd my at npm start. Okay, and we're going to say yes. Okay, so let's come down here. Why do we have an error here? Let's go up. We're not supposed to have any issue. Okay, see where we're having the issue. Okay, so now we're going to come here and we're going to say recipe data div. What's the matter? Is it this? Okay, that was the matter. All right, so we're going to say recipe data. I think that's what we name it, recipe data. Yes, we're going to say recipe data dot map. Okay, we're going to say recipe the type of any, and then we're going to say index with a type of number. Okay, then we're going to come to our components, create a new file and call it recipe detail.txx. Okay, then we're going to come here, we're going to say rfc recipe detail. Perfect. So come back to our recipe here and say recipe detail. Okay, then here we're going to say key equals to index, and then we're going to now just pass all our recipe data. Perfect. So we're going to go to our recipe detail here. So now that we're in recipe detail here, we're going to come down here. We're going to say type recipe props equals to the title should be a string, ingredients. Okay, let me just show you guys so that. Okay, no, come here. Inside each recipe we have the title, the ingredients, the servings, and the instruction. Everything is a string, so we're just going to continue that. So we're going to ingredients string, then we're going to say servings, also a string, then we're going to say instructions is a string. Okay, then over here we're going to see, because we're getting our title ingredients, service, instructions, and all these SCP props. Okay, so we're going to create a constant here and set it to open, and set open. Okay, and we're going to say equals to use state, and this is going to be a boolean. Going to be false. Okay, so now we're going to work on this. We're going to say this div class name, border bottom 1px. Then we're going to say border gray, border should be gray 500. Then we're going to create another div class name. We're going to say flex margin 2 text excel italic, and say text gray 400. So over text black. Okay, then here we're going to say div, that's a class name. Okay, we're going to say capitalize over, we need a cursor pointer. Then we're going to say flex 1, we're going to say select none, so that users can't highlight that. Okay, so here we're going to now say title. We're going to save, so you can see all our titles here. If you hover over it, it will pop up black, so it's looking nice. Now with the title, we want to also show the servant, so we're going to say div class name italic servants. Okay, so we can see our servants here. Okay, so this is looking neat. Now if a user clicks this, we want to now have a drop down that will show the list of the ingredients and everything, and that's why we have this open here. So if the user clicks on this title here, the drop down will come. So we're going to say on click, and we're going to say create a function. We're going to say set open to prev. So if it was false, it's going to switch to true. If it was true, it will switch to false. So we just want it to be the opposite of what it was previously. Okay, so come to this div, some space, say div, then we're going to say if it's open, we want to do this. Okay, so we're going to say div class name padding 3 pg white. Okay, now we're going to now say a paragraph, and it will be class name, sorry, here class name will be text gray 600 italic and underline. Okay, so we're going to have ingredients. Now over here we want to show the ingredients. Okay, so we save this. Now if you come here, you click, you can see the ingredients, but you can see it's not looking neat. It has this character here that is showing a new line, so we want to format this so it gives us something like this. Okay, so how do we format that? Think. I'm giving you 2 seconds to solve it. And if you're very good with React, you will know that. I say React, if you're very good with JavaScript, you will know the answer. So this is how we're going to. We're going to say constant text ingredients, right? We're going to say the ingredients that we get, right? we want to split it at the point of this character, right? Then we're also going to do that for the instructions, because the instructions is also the same way. Instructions dot split, but the instructions are splitted by dots. Okay, I'll show you why we do that. Let me just say br and show you the instructions. Okay, so if you click on this, you can see the instructions too are just scattered, but we want to separate it to be something like this. You can see it here. So what we're doing, we're going to split it at every full stop. Okay, so then it's going to give us an array. Once we split it like this, it's going to give us an array. So we're going to map through to that array. Okay, so when we come to this ingredient, we're just going to cancel. We're going to say text ingredients. I'm going to put this in case there's nothing there. Say map ingredient. Okay, ingredient is a string. Index is a number. I'm going to say p. I'm going to say the key equals the index. Okay, and if the key is equals to index, we now want to show the ingredients. Okay, so we're also going to do the same thing for instructions. So we're just going to copy this. Paste, and here we're just going to come delete this instructions here, and save. So let's check it. So you can see it's so much more neater, but we don't have this, so we're going to copy this and paste it here and say instructions. Okay, so you can see it's looking really neat and simple. So we're done with showing each recipe. So now we need to go back to this our recipe and configure this in a way where we're not just fetching data constantly and getting that limit. I don't even think it was the limit issue that caused us to have a problem here. I think it was just the request was just too many at a time. So that's what we're going to work on now. So let's come to our recipe here. Let's say J. Let's cancel this terminal so it doesn't keep requesting while we are working. We're going to delete this. Okay, so now the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to configure this use effect here. Now let's unhighlight this. Now in this use effect, we're fetching this recipe data, but we're fetching it on every keystroke. We don't want to do that. We want to give the user some seconds before we fetch this information, right? So what we're going to do, because it's too many at a single time, so we're just going to come here. We're going to set a timeout. We're going to say constant timer equals to set timeout, and we're going to put this fetch request function here, and we're going to say for every 1 second. Now we can set this for every 2 seconds. It depends on what you like. I just feel like if the user is typing quick, maybe because I type quick, but let's just set it to every 2 seconds. Okay, then we're going to say, we're going to clear this. Let's say return clear timeout. Okay, timeout. All right, so this is set that every 2 seconds before this function will run, so that it doesn't just keep being iterated while the user is just clicking. Okay, so that is set. Now we also need to set a loading spinner, because when the user is typing and the data is not yet there, the user needs to know that yes, this is fetching. So before we do that, let's start this application and see how it is looking. So we're just going to navigate to my app, npm start. Wait, let's go back. Yes. Okay, so it's refreshing. I don't want to be using this. Let's cancel this. We want to be using recipes. Okay. Alright, so if we come here and say jollof rice, we should see. Alright, so we can see this after a period of time it showed, right? So now we need to set a loading state. So we're going to say constant loading, set loading equals to use state boolean, and the initial loading is false, meaning it is not loading, right? Good. So now when the user finishes typing, right, we want the loading spinner to start. So just first of all come down here and say, we want to change this. We want to say loading. If the loading is true, right? If loading is true, we want to say loading dot. Else, if it's not true, then and only then do we want to have a div and then display this. Okay, so let's take a look at our code logic again. So we have a loading data here, which is false, and if the user comes to this text, right, and starts typing, we want to set the loading to be true because the user has started typing. Now to do that, we're going to use a event handler called onKeyDown rather. So this handler is saying the user has clicked a button on his keyboard. So once the user clicks a button on his keyboard, we want to set loading to true, right? So if we come here and we say jollof rice, right? The user has started typing, so the loading is set to true. So if we come back, we say J jollof, it is loading, right? And once in this constant here, once the recipes data has been set, it means it's not loading, it shouldn't be loading anymore, right? So once we fetch this data from our function get recipe data, we want to set the loading to be false. So if we come back and refresh and we say jollof, you see it's loading, and once the data has been fetched, the loading is set to false. Then set recipe will be set with the data and then it will display it. So that is loading disappears, right? So now we don't want to be using loading text as our loading this thing. We want to be using a spinner, right? So to use a spinner, I want you all to go to loading.io. They're very popular, popular loading screen website. So we're going to be using one of their many animations here. So you can see this animation, it's quite nice, but just refresh the site. We want to use the first one that we see. We're going to put it in our public folder. Yes, so this is the one we get. So we want to change the palette to something like this, like that one, like this. It's not changing. Multicolor on. Let's use this. All right, see, nice, right? Then we want it to be transparent, so we're going to click transparent on. Let's just still click on this background and put transparent. Okay, so everything is transparent. Now we want to save it as an SVG, so we want it animated, so we're going to download it. Okay, so free download. Just click on download. So you can see it's been downloaded. I open it in the folder. You can see I already have one before. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it here. Close this. But we'll not be able to fetch it from this public folder. So in this source, I'm going to create a new folder and call it assets. Then I'm going to come to this public folder. I'm taking that spinner to the assets. And I'm going to rename it to just spinner. Make it easier for me. Come back here. Refresh this. Then I want to come to the top here and say import image from assets spinner. Then I want to come here. Okay, no. Okay. I want to come here and make an image tag. Resource image and put alt spinner. Okay. Now we're getting an error. Why are we getting an error? We're getting an error because with TypeScript, this doesn't have a type. There's no type for this. So there's no type declaration for this, and that's why we're getting an error. So to fix this error, you come to your source directory and you create a new file, and you call that file declarations.d.ts. So in this declaration.t.ts, we're going to declare. Is this how to spell declare? No. We're going to declare module, right? For all .svg files. Okay. We're going to say constant value is any, and then export equals to value. Okay, so once we do this, we will not have an issue with that again. So when we refresh this, we click here and say jollof, you can see our loading spinner, right? So that is perfect. So our loading spinner, we want it to be in the middle. So we're just going to come here and say class name. I will say MX Auto. So refresh this. Say jollof. You see, it looks so much better, right? So much better. Now, in a case where the application can't find any recipe that we have, for instance, let me say goat meat. You can see nothing. We don't want the user to just see nothing, right? So what we want to do, we want to create a new constant and say constant empty, set empty, right, equals to use state boolean false. So this is saying that empty is false, and what we're going to be doing here, we're going to say anytime the use effects one, we want to say set empty to be true. Not true, sorry, false. And in this place here, we're going to say if data.length is equal to 0, we want to set empty to true, and then want to set recipes to null. Okay, then else we do this. Okay, also here, when we are calling this function, we want to see if there's nothing in search. For instance, if a user does something like this, why is it loading? when there's nothing inside here. As you can see, it just keeps loading. So if there's nothing in search, we want to set loading to be false. Okay, so if we refresh this, we come here, say, and then we'll delete everything. So run and then stop. Okay, so here, if empty, if we have empty, we want to tell the user, sorry, no SCP was found. Then we'll just put class name, text center. Okay, so if we come here and say goat meat, we search, and it will tell us, sorry, no recipe was found. We just want a bit of padding here, or margin rather, so margin 5. Reload this and say goat meat. Okay, so you can see it looks much more clean. And then if we just say goats, we're sure to get more recipes. Goats. Okay, so this is a very neat application. Please help the channel to grow. Please click on the like button, and also subscribe if you haven't subscribed and you enjoy this kind of videos. I'll see you guys in the next video.